Hey, this is Tom at Talent Guitar Works, and today's show I put a lot of thought into. This is what does it take to be a luthier? And I hear arguments about this all the time, and the difference between a guitar tech and a luthier, and who could do what, and I could do that better than you. And I'm not here to gatekeep, and I'm not here to point fingers. What I'm here to do is just explain to you a luthier, by definition, is the builder of stringed instruments, or he's able to repair them. And when you talk about string instruments, you could be talking about balalaikas, violins, cellos, violas, double basses, electric guitars, acoustic guitars, mandolins, the little chord thing that they used to play with all the strings on them that are a pain to restring. All of that is entailed in there. Now, because you do one or two of those, that's not excluding you from this. That's what we call specialization. Everybody specializes. I have paws like a panther. I can't work on a violin. And F-style mandolins drive me absolutely batty, although I've done a couple. And that's one of the things out there. Now, there is no overarching, and I'm talking about the United States right now, body that says, I'm waving my magic wand, and yes, you are a luthier, and yes, you are a luthier, and no, you're not a luthier. There's nobody like that. The U.S. Department of Labor lists the closest thing to being a luthier as a musical instrument repairman, or a musical stringed instrument repairman, whatever it was. And their labor rate is really scary, so looked at that. Now, there are lutherie schools out there, and they come in categories on how you can learn to be a luthier. The first one is you go to an established lutherie school that's usually about 5 months in length, and I'm talking about Roberto Venn, that's an 880-hour program to, get their seal of approval. And I would say, yeah, you're a luthier getting out of Roberto Venn. There are other courses that are online. There are courses that are weekend clinics that you go 10 weekends and you're a luthier. Or you go to the Martin program and that's 800 hours and you build 7 stringed instruments and you're a luthier. Once again, specialization, there's no problem with that. If you become a luthier and you do nothing but build electric 5-string bass guitars and that makes you happy, hey, that's it. That's all you got to do, right? But a luthier, and people say, what about the guys with the CNC machines? What about the guys with this? What about the guys that are doing that? There's a progression everybody goes through. When they're interested in building and repairing guitars, they start out by modifying or upgrading their own instruments or doing minor repairs on them and learning how to do them. Hey, 2 thumbs up, go for it. If you do that correctly, then you get involved with kit building. You say, I'm going to build a kit guitar. And you get that right. And that's great. Some of the stuff has really already been done for you, but you're getting a really good idea about order of operations and how the guitar has to be built so it's playable when it's done. Then you get into the people that start building bodies. And that's where I jumped in and started. I started building bodies because I saw the price my buddy paid for a Telecaster guitar back in the early 2000s, and I was like, I could build that body in my garage with my bandsaw and my sander and save you a lot of money. And he challenged me, so I did. And I didn't build the neck on that guitar. I had purchased a neck, and he still has that guitar. So all well and good there. What I will say is a luthier is a craftsman. And I've heard of and I know of guys that are retired and they bought a CNC machine. They say, this machine's going to work for me and I'm going to produce puzzles, or I'm going to produce signs, or I'm going to produce something that I could sell to the public to make a little extra money and income. The thing that's missing there is a luthier, and no one will argue with me on this, is a craftsman. You have to know how to handle the hand tools. You have to know how to handle the power tools. If you just go out and buy a CNC and you buy a program that's for an electric Stratocaster style guitar, and it will do the body and the neck of that guitar, that's great. Now you got to do all the wiring. You have to do, the layout, um, to make sure that you have the proper scale length once the guitar is fitted together. You have to put frets in it. CNC machines don't put frets in fretboards. They also don't do inlay work. They also don't install the tuning machines and the bridges and everything else that goes with it. So, not throwing stones at the CNC guys. Do what you got to do. But to be a luthier, you should be a craftsman. You should have a solid basic woodworking knowledge that you've added on with a lot, and I mean a lot, of specialized tools. I had a construction carpentry background and I had an immense amount of equipment. That was just the tip of the iceberg for when you start building and repairing guitars. And over time, you amass a lot of equipment that you say, well, I may need this, so I'm going to get it. Or this is going to be nice to have. I bought a Stuart McDonald neck jig that's, oh my God, expensive. And I bought that early on. I thought, I'm going to need this and it's going to pay for itself. Well, here it is like 7 or 8 years later, and it's paid for itself about 5 times over now. But beware of the luthiers that are, and I'm going to say this now I'm going to throw some stones, working out of their garage, and they're also taking apart their weed eater while they're working on your guitar. Beware of the luthier that's working out of a back bedroom in his house on a desk and there are no apparent tools around. Beware of the luthier that if you ask him, do you warranty your work? He says, what? Why? You have to. You have to warranty your work. Everybody makes mistakes. Something can happen. I'll give you a great example. Guitar players come in all the time and they want their action lowered as low as it possibly can go. We live in Southwest Florida. It's hot here. I'm in my shop sweating because the AC's off so it doesn't hum during the video. And by moving that guitar from air conditioning out to hot to air conditioning to hot, if they're going out to play, there's movement in the neck. There's a little bit. So I could take it down to where he's sitting here, and I always make customers check the work I did to see if it's exactly what they want. And he'll say, yeah, it is. And he'll call me a week later and say, it's buzzing a little. Bring it back in, I'll adjust it. I don't charge for that. Hey, he wanted it that low. We got it that low. I advised him it needed to come up a little bit. Because, people will tell him, on the internet especially, you want it as low as it can possibly be, or you want it way up so you could play slide, and it is what it is. Also, if you're working on something and something comes unglued, and when I say something, I mean bindings. You put a binding on for somebody, and 6 months down the road, something pops up on the binding, and he goes, hey, this popped up, bring it in, I'll fix it. It's not a big deal, right? On fret work, it usually shouldn't be a big deal because if you're doing a refret, you're installing the frets, you're making sure all the fret slots are cut, you're fret level and dressing it, you're crowning it, you're getting everything polished up, and then you're checking it before it goes out the door with the neck adjustment and everything to make sure there are no buzzes. There is no. And, people talk about fret sprout. Once again, you see the sweat starting to form on my face and my forehead. We live in Southwest Florida. We don't have fret sprout. We have the opposite. Everything here will suck up the humidity relatively quickly. It's good for the acoustic guitars down here. I could tell an acoustic guitar that's come from up north and been inside and been hot and dry all winter long, and somebody brings it down here, and it's pretty amazing, versus a guitar that's lived here its whole life and's been exposed to this humidity in Florida. We see a lot of B string cracks and stuff on those. So anyway, I'm getting off track on the luthier side of it. But if your luthier is licensed, or your guitar tech, or whatever term you want to use for them, or that they prefer they use, you should be fine. They should have a business license at a minimum that says they're professional. If they're members of any of the associations, like the American, Luthier's Guild of America, hey, that's great. They're just getting updated news items on how to do things, tool reviews, things like that, and they're furthering or continuing their education on what they're doing. Uh, I've never met a luthier that's an expert on everything. Once again, they specialize. Most guys that are luthiers have about 10,000 hours invested in their trade. That's 5 years at 40 hours a week for 50 weeks a year. And that's pretty intensive when you think about it. Now, the third way, I started out as an apprentice after I did my own stuff for a while. I had a luthier take me in and say, hey, do you want to work in the shop? I can't pay you, but I'll teach you a lot of neat shit. Well, I did that, and I did it for over 4 years. And I learned a huge volume of information on different types of guitars and the do's and don'ts and orders of operations on different guitars and what you could do and what you couldn't do to get them playing right. But ultimately, the goal is to build, if your goal is to build your own guitar, several things I would recommend. One is don't buy the neck. Invest in a neck blank in the fretboard, buy some good files, and watch some YouTube videos if you have to, and go very slowly, and it's going to take longer than you think, so it'll probably be slow, and shape your own neck for the first time. You will be prouder of that guitar than if you built the body and then bought the neck and put it on, and then somebody said, well, did you build the neck? And you go, well, no. The last guys I'm going to tell you about are these water slide decal guys. They're out there. They're really out there in Southwest Florida. They'll buy knockoff parts, put a good guitar together, slide a Fender decal on it, and say, yeah, it's a Fender. Or they'll buy the custom shop back plate for the neck, which you can get on Amazon or eBay for, $5-6, and they'll slap that, oh, this is a Fender custom shop. And they will take advantage of buyers that they're trying to sell these guitars to. So leave your remarks in the comment. If you want to throw rocks at me, let me know. And hope you like and subscribe to the page. This is Tom again at Talent Guitar Works. I got to get out of here before I lose about 5 pounds in sweat or turn the AC on. Bye.